The bloodthirsty, unhinged monster Grand Duke actually marries a delicate woman. However, on their wedding night, his wife is imprisoned with shackles by him. Varys is both a revered war hero and a cruel butcher feared by everyone. At 9 years old, he buried his father who died in battle with his own hands. For 2 years, he lurked beside his father's killer, and on the day he gained the enemy's trust, he killed his enemy without hesitation. Although some criticized his dishonorable methods, Varys doesn't care at all. For the following 16 years, he lives on battlefields. He honorably leads the empire to victory in every war. However, he has a problem. That is when the full moon rises. He goes into a bloodlust, slaughtering everyone in sight regardless of friend or foe. Seline is an unfortunate woman. Today, she's about to marry the butcher Varys. In fact, as long as Varys submits a marriage proposal, there would be princesses or other nobles lining up wanting to marry him, but he chooses Seline, who is an orphan with nothing. Is it because of her beauty, or is it because he fell for her at first sight? Neither. Varys simply wants a woman whose family won't come looking for her even if she disappears, because he plans to lock up his newlywed wife in a room for life on their wedding night. Seline knows all this because these plots are from a novel she just read, but she found the novel too boring and didn't finish reading it. Unfortunately, after she transmigrated in this body, the wedding has already ended, and she's waiting for Varys in the room. She wants to escape, but there's a blizzard outside, and she has no money and doesn't know the way. Moreover, her body is unusually frail. She'd probably faint the moment she steps outside, but if she doesn't escape tonight, she'll be locked away forever. Just then, the room door suddenly opens. Footsteps draw closer and closer to the bed. Seline can't help but wonder if Varys has entered the bedroom. She quickly crawls up from the bed, wanting to see if the legendary monster Grand Duke is really as terrifying as described in the novel. However, the moment Varys stands before her, she only feels that he's so tall. What are you doing? Varys frowns and looks at her impatiently. Sorry, I suddenly fell asleep. I'll get up right away. Seeing his cold stare fixed on her, Seline hurriedly moves to the other side of the bed in fear. Thinking that Varys has come to the bedroom now, she'll hardly find a chance to escape. Seeing him place the lamp on the nightstand, Seline wants to say something more, but his single word sleep blocks her. She obediently keeps quiet and quickly lies down under the covers. She thinks that although he looks a bit scary, he's still quite handsome, like a bear. Once she lies down, she feels so sleepy and quickly falls asleep. Varys sits at the foot of the bed, quietly watching her fall asleep, but his clenched fists with bulging veins betray his inner turmoil. He stares straight at her, not understanding why she isn't afraid of him. The next day, Seline wakes up. She touches the space beside her and feels no warmth at all. So it seems Varys went somewhere else to sleep. She can't help thinking he might be a bit lonely, but the male lead in the novel is supposed to have very strong possessiveness, so why did he sleep alone? Suddenly, Selena notices Varys sitting at the table deep in thought, his handsome, stern face looking even more attractive in the sunlight. Seline is momentarily dazzled by his looks. Suddenly she realizes she's actually married now. She immediately buries herself under the covers, and can't believe she's actually married. But Varys gazes out the window thoughtfully, lost in contemplation. Most people become afraid upon seeing him, and don't dare make eye contact. Even his subordinates think someone as fierce-looking as him could never get married. But the poor Seline has married him. Varys recalls when he first saw her yesterday that she stared at him blankly. Just now she also showed a very shy expression, and even smiled while talking to him. Could it be that she's not afraid of me? It almost seems like she sees me as an ordinary person. Varys thinks over and over about her strange behavior. Finally, he leaves the room in irritation. Seline wraps herself tightly like a silkworm. Hearing him leave, thinking Varys went out to make it convenient for her to change clothes, she hurriedly gets up from the bed and quickly opens the wardrobe. Suddenly her thoughts jump to him possibly preparing strange tools to lock her up. If that's the case, she'd be doomed. But then she quickly reassures herself that he probably wouldn't do that. Seline randomly picks up a dress to put on, but the problem is she doesn't know how to wear it. She really regrets not reading more romance novels before. However, just then Varys suddenly strides back in. Her heart skips a beat and she quickly turns aside, but he walks straight to the bedside and takes out a pouch, pouring the crimson liquid inside onto the bed sheets. Seline collapses to the floor in fright. What? Blood? Is he summoning demons? Could this be a horror novel? Am I the sacrifice? Seeing him approach, she nervously swallows, but the bloody scene she imagined doesn't appear. Varys kindly extends a hand to her. The floor is cold. You can take my hand to get up. Hearing his words clearly, she stares at him blankly, momentarily forgetting to respond. After coming to her senses, she shyly thanks him. Seeing her dress isn't zipped up properly, Varys stands and suggests he help her get dressed. Seline blushes and agrees. Feeling his warm touch, she shyly covers her entire face with both hands. Varys, looking at her exposed back, doesn't know what to do either, because she looks so pale and delicate. He feels like she might break at his touch, so he holds her dress strings and freezes in place. Seeing no movement behind her for a while, Seline turns around questioningly to look at him. As a result, Varys gets nervous and pulls the dress strings too tight, making Seline cry out in surprise. Thankfully, the head maid Anna arrives just in time. Your Grace, I will help her Grace with her attire. Hearing this, Seline nearly cheers. Finally, someone reliable appears. She excitedly walks toward Anna. The dress strings slip from Varys' hands. It feels empty without her in his hand. He doesn't like this kind of feeling. He suddenly suddenly has the sick fantasy of closing the door and locking her in here forever so she can never escape from his control. Suddenly, a rumbling sound rings out. It's Celine's stomach protesting from hunger, and she shyly covers her belly. Seeing how cute she is, Varys orders Anna to prepare food. Then he leaves the room with Anna. Seline suddenly smells blood and quickly opens the window for fresh air. Although she spent last night safely, in the original story she fainted on the first day of her wedding. When she woke up again, she was imprisoned in the room. Varys announced his retirement to focus on farming, but actually he kept imprisoning and tormenting her. He showed no mercy to a terrified 20-year-old girl who couldn't even look him in the eye. To be honest, she's temporarily not imprisoned like in the original story. If she doesn't escape, her safety is only temporary, but heading to this icy world without any preparation would be no different from suicide. Meanwhile, Varys comes to her door again. Hearing no response from inside, his heart suddenly jumps in alarm. He anxiously opens the door, only to find Seline sitting quietly by the window, gazing into the distance. He worries whether she feels cold right now, because he heard she comes from the warm south. Logically, she should hate cold weather. Varys walks toward her step by step. Just then, Seline turns around. They look directly into each other's eyes. Actually, when she makes eye contact with his cold eyes, Seline instinctively feels overwhelming fear, but his handsome face and powerful aura are exactly her type. "I heard you didn't eat lunch. Aren't you hungry?" Noticing her stare straight at him, he's certain that she's not afraid of him. In Celine's eyes, he is like a big lion asking a cute little rabbit if she wants to eat. His fierce yet cute demeanor makes her want to laugh when just thinking about it. Varys still foolishly thinks Seline likes being asked if she's hungry, but this can't be blamed on him for thinking this way. It's because he's moved between various battlefields since childhood and never had the chance to interact with women. Even though he attended several royal victory balls, no lady ever spoke to him, because once they made eye contact with him, they'd run away in fear. Thinking of what Anna told her about this, Seline finally can't hold back and laughs out loud. The atmosphere is so good that she blurts out that she wants to go outside and look around. Realizing what she said, Seline immediately wants to slap herself, since Varys couldn't possibly allow her to go out, and her words might even anger him, but contrary to her expectations, he agrees and gentlemanly extends his hand to help her up. After that, Seline obediently follows behind him, dragging her heavy dress. She's wearing so many clothes that walking becomes very difficult, but thinking that he personally prepared them for her, her heart unconsciously fills with sweetness. However, Varys walking ahead suddenly stops, which startles her. She worries if she walked too slowly and angered him, just as she's overthinking. Varys extends his arm for her to hold, but Seline doesn't understand his intention. Is he telling me to take his arm, but he's not saying anything? Or maybe he just happened to bend his arm and I noticed by chance? I'm not sure. I'll pretend not to see and stay still. Varys just stares at her without speaking. He remembers his aide Zarth once said that when a lady is dressed uncomfortably, it's proper manners for a man to offer his arm. Unless the lady extremely dislikes him, most women won't refuse. This last sentence keeps repeating in his mind. Realizing Seline might extremely dislike him is a huge shock to him. Although their relationship isn't close yet, they're already husband and wife now. Most importantly, she doesn't fear him like others do. He once thought she didn't like him, but at least didn't hate him to the point of disgust, but apparently all his efforts were in vain. Anyway, he only married her to have children. He doesn't understand why he cares so much about her thoughts. He withdraws his arm and continues walking forward. However, an accident happens at this moment. Seline accidentally trips over a bump in the ground and falls right into Varys' arms. Feeling his solid embrace, her face turns red with embarrassment. Varys also feels his heart pounding while holding her. Feeling the slender waist in his hands, he thinks she's so light, like a rabbit. It seems he needs to make her eat more before winter comes, to make her gain some weight. When the time comes, he'll decorate her room nicely, then never let her come out. Seline, still embarrassed about tripping, has no idea her husband is planning to lock her up. The next morning, Seline still huddles in her warm blanket, not wanting to get up. Anna notices signs of movement under the covers. She respectfully bows and asks if she should get up. Seeing her so respectful, Seline feels particularly unaccustomed and hurriedly tells her there's no need for such formality. Besides, Anna is obviously much older than her, so she instinctively tells Anna no need to address her so formally. However, Anna coldly asks if she treats everyone this way. Seline panics, but she still earnestly replies, "As you might already know, I've grown up as a commoner with no background, so I don't know what kind of reactions I should have in certain situations. I still have much to learn about social etiquette, and I hope you can help me." Given her recent behavior, Anna can see she's indeed not lying, but she doesn't agree to help. "Your Grace, please have breakfast first." After eating her fill, Seline starts feeling bored, lying in bed not knowing what she can do. But thinking carefully, it seems no one has forbidden her from going outside. She immediately perks up, planning to go outside and get some sun. If she stays in the room all the time, she might die of depression. She strides toward the door. Unexpectedly, she runs straight into Anna. "Your Grace, may I ask where you're going?" Seeing her serious expression, Seline trembles, but her desire to go outside still conquers her inner fear. "I want to go outside for a walk. If I'm always kept in the room, I think I'll become depressed." Then she notices the meal box behind Anna. "Is that my lunch? Your Grace, do you want to eat?" But taking it outside to eat would be very troublesome. "If you insist on going out, there's a table in the corridor outside where you can eat." Hearing her words, Seline breaks into a happy smile. Really? Then let's go now. Looking at the rich pastries and tea snacks on the table, Seline excitedly praises how wonderful it all is. She prepares to pick up the knife and fork to start enjoying the food, but not understanding dining etiquette. She starts having difficulties again, because she's worried that if she does something wrong, Anna will scold her. Anna is actually also conflicted about whether to teach her the proper etiquette. After all, she's always followed His Grace's orders, and His Grace had long said he would bring back a woman he could dispose of at will to bear an heir, and after marriage would only keep her confined to her room. If that were the case, there would be no need for her to teach Her Grace these things, but after the wedding night, His Grace seems to have started becoming different. He actually scattered animal blood on the sheets so Her Grace wouldn't be gossiped about by outsiders. She thinks Her Grace has indeed influenced His Grace's behavior. Perhaps Her Grace will bring hope to the north and can prevent His Grace from losing control. At this moment, Seline interrupts her contemplation. Anna, I want to go out today. Is there anything I need to pay attention to before going out? Seline blinks her puppy dog eyes hopefully at Anna. Only then does Anna realize she really wants to go outside. Your Grace, I will accompany you. Meanwhile, Varys irritably lowers his head. He had wanted to confine Seline after marriage, but thinking she might be frightened, he decides to carefully think of a reason he can use to confine her. Varys is going crazy over his strange thoughts. He keeps telling himself in his heart that he brought Seline back only to bear an heir. But recalling her brilliant smile, he doesn't want to treat her that way, so he starts pacing restlessly back and forth in his room. Suddenly, his gaze falls on Seline outside the window. She and Anna seem to be chatting happily. Then they start leaving the castle toward the outside. Varys can't help but suspect she wants to escape. Then he thinks that with Anna there, she shouldn't be able to escape, but his thoughts uncontrollably go toward the worst-case scenario. What if she shakes Anna off in a crowded crowd? He can't afford any mistakes. He has to catch her and bring her back. Then he quietly follows behind them, but Seline is completely unaware, looking in amazement at the bustling and lively market scene before her eyes. She feels like she's come here as a tourist. She bursts into thoughts that maybe this world doesn't have much connection to the novel. After all, she has deep experience that Varys isn't obsessive like in the plot, but rather makes her feel close to him. Yesterday he even gentlemanly held her hand while walking. Thinking of this, she can't help but blush, since she's never been in love. Honestly, she's not quite sure if she and Varys are in an ambiguous stage, but the next moment she feels she's daydreaming. She's only thinking this way now because she hasn't been confined by Varys yet. But his true nature won't change. But she really wants to live a peaceful life with him. After all, he's her type. Seeing Anna standing to the side all along, Seline pats the spot next to her, gesturing for Anna to sit beside her. Anna is flattered and verbally agrees, but her eyes glance toward the Grand Duke hiding in the corner. Seeing him nod in agreement, she sits down. As a royal knight, Anna has heightened senses. So the first moment Varys caught up, she had already discovered him. At his signal, Anna continues following Seline, while he maintains a certain distance following them. This way, if anything bad happens, he can immediately run over. But actually he also has selfish motives. If he discovers Seline showing even a hint of wanting to escape, he'll use her attempted escape as an excuse to drag her back to the castle and tie her up. But from dawn until dusk, Seline shows no such signs. Varys can't understand. Isn't she bored just sitting there like that? Could she be out scouting escape routes in advance? Watching the sun about to set, Varys finally decides to go back. Poor Zarth had to do all his work for him, though he didn't mean it intentionally. After returning to her room, Seline takes a refreshing bath. Then there's a knock at the door. She thinks it's Anna and tells her to come right in, but the person who enters is actually Varys. The moment she sees him, Seline frantically covers her body with a towel. Varys also stares at her in a daze. Seline, startled, immediately shuts the door, while Varys, standing by the door, is completely confused. He thought at this time Seline should have finished bathing and be resting, so he specifically brought a gift to find her, but he's messed everything up. He worries that Seline already doesn't like him, and now she'll definitely hate him even more. Thinking this, he dejectedly slumps against the door. Anna, who just happens to see the scene, has a face full of question marks. At the same time, Seline also feels she's going crazy. Just now she actually used a commanding tone to speak to Varys. If this makes him angry, he locks her away, and that's it for her. Please give me another chance. When Varys enters the room again, what he sees is Seline sitting on the ground in an odd manner, but he doesn't think much of it, directly covering her shoulders with a blanket thoughtfully. Selene's face turns red from his warm gesture. Then she shyly expresses her gratitude. Thank you for being so kind to me. Kind. This is the first time Varys has heard such an evaluation from someone else. He calmly replies that it's nothing, while secretly celebrating in his heart that his image in her mind is still good. Then he turns around, planning to wait outside for her to change clothes so they can go eat together. Hearing this, Seline immediately gets excited, her cheeks flushing pink. This is their first time eating together, and there's no such scene in the original work at all. Seline suspects he wants to make her mess up so he can use it as an excuse to confine her. She keeps thinking about things, completely ignoring Varys sitting across from her. Varys's expression turns fierce as he sulks, not knowing what happened. Seline gives him a sweet smile. It makes his heart race immediately. What is wrong with this woman? No one has ever dared to meet my gaze without flinching and touch me so casually like she does. Then he pushes the long-prepared gift towards Seline. What is this? "May I open it and look? This is a gift for you. You can decide for yourself." Seline opens the box and discovers it's actually an invaluable gemstone necklace inside. She's so happy, unable to believe it's a gift for her. Although Varus has no reason to give her gifts, this is the first gift from a member of the opposite sex she's received in her lifetime. She's really been warmed by Varus once again and truly feels he's trying to be good to her. As expected, he's very different from the original work. Maybe they really can live well together. Seline feels anticipation and hope for their future life together. Varus is relieved that Seline doesn't suspect anything. In fact, that necklace is a processed item. Long before giving it out, he secretly told the pawn shop the jewelry serial number. As soon as someone comes to sell it, give that person 1,000 gold coins, then immediately sends word to him. After he catches Seline trying to escape by selling the item, he can throw the evidence at her, then openly and legitimately imprison her. He anticipates her taking the bait. The next day, Seline indeed leaves the castle again. Seeing everything proceeding according to his expectations, Varus reveals a confident smile. Zarth watches his changing expressions from the side. He remembers his grace disguised himself as a war orphan and infiltrated the enemy camp at age 9, using just 2 short years to kill his enemy. After his body recovered, he immediately returned to the battlefield. Watching him excitedly go to tail her grace, Zarth sighs that his grace is truly about to welcome his own spring. Varus follows Seline all the way, but she only buys 2 apples, some chicken skewers, and a rough leather coin purse. He's practically furious. If she wanted to escape, these things would be completely useless. The citizens recognize his identity and keep gossiping around him, but to catch Seline red-handed, he endures it all, pretending he can't hear. However, she shows no signs of escaping, and he's going crazy with frustration. At this moment, Seline suddenly stops at a small stall and stares blankly, then picks up a woven bag. Varus's expectations are dashed again. What use is that little bag? You need to buy a bag you can carry over your shoulder that can hold lots of things. After that, Seline goes to a shoe store. Varus thinks she should buy a pair of low-heeled shoes perfect for running this time, but she doesn't even glance at them and walks away directly. He becomes extremely depressed. What is this woman trying to do? If she really wants to buy things, why did she run out on the first day after receiving my gift? And why is she smiling so happily? His eyes haven't left her for a single moment, yet he has no idea why she's smiling. Seeing her smile has nothing to do with him. He becomes increasingly depressed and jealous. However, Seline is completely unaware of his psychological turmoil. She's happily enjoying the food. The chicken skewers taste so good that she devours a whole string with relish. Then a breeze blows, and she shivers from the cold, suddenly remembering the scene of Varus draping a blanket over her. At that moment, she really felt so warm, and when she grabbed his arm, she felt he was so solid, as if she could put all her weight on him without any problem. She doesn't know when it started, but thinking of Varus makes her want to smile. According to the novel's setting, Varus's loneliness is predetermined, and in reality, she's equally lonely. Perhaps this is why they met and became husband and wife. Maybe they really can live well together. In the evening, Varus walks towards Celine's room carrying a gift box. Thinking of yesterday's embarrassing scene, he coughs slightly to hide his awkwardness, but the slight redness on his face still reveals his shyness. When he's almost at her room, Seline sneaks out from her room like a little hamster. Varus thinks she wants to escape and immediately darkens his expression, huffily tailing her all the way. What's this about? Who's she all dressed up for? And whose room is she sneaking off to this late? His petty, sulky face is really too embarrassing to look at. Suddenly, he discovers she's actually stopped at his own room's door. Varus frantically paces in place, wondering how to get back to his own room. Suddenly, he looks towards Celine's room, hesitating whether he should go through her room's balcony to get to his own room. Although entering someone else's room without permission is very rude, he really has no other choice. After entering Celine's room, he quickly moves from her window to jump to his own window, then doesn't dare linger for a moment as he comes to his room. After putting down the gift box in his hand, he goes to the room's entrance, opens the door, and leans coolly against the doorframe. "Please come in." Not understanding what's happening, Seline blankly responds with, "Okay." After entering the room, she sits on a stool, but Varus stands alone against the wall, keeping his distance from her. Seline tries to maintain a sweet smile, patting the spot next to her to signal him to sit down. Varus understands her meaning, and obediently sits beside her. Slowly moving closer to his wife, Seline can't help but praise him in her heart for being as cute as a bear. At this moment, she realizes her mindset has indeed changed. She no longer finds Varus scary, but the more she looks at him, the more adorable she finds him. Then she initiates conversation. "This apple looks delicious, so I bought it. Let's eat it together." She gives the apple to Varus, then happily picks up her apple and takes a big bite. Varus watches her pick up the apple and take a big bite, then foolishly follows suit and also takes a big bite. Seline is charmed by his silly cute look and immediately bursts into laughter. Varus panics inside, not understanding what she's laughing at, wondering if his way of eating the apple looked too strange. She laughingly apologizes. "I'm sorry if my laughter upset you. I didn't mean it like that. Look, your bite is so much bigger than mine. That's really amazing. The difference between our bites is so big." Hearing her explanation, Varus feels ashamed and indignant. "Because everything about you is small. Your mouth, height, face, and hands are small too." Realizing what he's thinking, he's dying of embarrassment. He stands up to indicate he's prepared a gift for her, then takes out a pair of red low-heeled shoes. Seline is delighted and asks if she can put them on right now. Varus looks at her outfit and notices her dress doesn't look convenient at all. Let me help you put them on. He gently lifts her foot, his heart pounding wildly the whole time. Wearing her new shoes, Seline is extremely happy. Thank you, I really like them. Varus is almost drowning in her smile. He doesn't know when it started, but whenever he meets her smile, his whole person becomes dazed. He pulls himself together, warning himself not to be bewitched by this woman. He thinks that now that she has comfortable shoes, she'll definitely try to escape. But if she escapes in the extremely cold north, doesn't that mean she really hates him? After putting on her new shoes, Seline maintains her cheerful mood. Let's continue eating the apple. Varus, who was just thinking about getting angry, is immediately soothed by her smile, obediently listening like a little dog. Seline gradually moved closer to him. He's so nervous, wanting to know what she's trying to do. Moreover, she keeps looking at him and smiling. Seline is immersed in their ambiguous atmosphere, but when Varus thinks she might spend the night with him, he becomes very nervous yet secretly expectant. But then he tells himself that he can't do that. No, absolutely not. I'm not ready yet. It's already late. You should please go back. After rejecting Seline, he deeply regrets it, cursing himself for what he's doing. Although if Seline really wants to escape, she'd fall right into his trap. Thinking of her actually wanting to escape still makes him unable to help getting angry. He closes the window and walks into the bedroom, only to discover her clothes have actually been left here. Honestly, he doesn't know what he wants to do with Seline either. Meanwhile, on the other side, Seline is practically driven crazy by Varus. She almost doubts whether he's still that monster Grand Duke or not, but clearly she has the same appearance as Seline, and Varus also matches the novel's description completely. So why after 3 nights have passed, the novel's plot events haven't begun? Initially, Seline was happy because she thought not being imprisoned was just luck, but as time passes day by day, she becomes increasingly uneasy. It can no longer be explained by luck. The plot seems to have gone wrong. The novel didn't specifically describe Celine's personality, but it described Varus as having a strong desire for control. Could it be that the novel's Seline wouldn't be as cautious as herself, but rather sweet and adorable? So adorable that people want to confine her at first sight. If that's really the case, she's doomed because she can't manage to be like that. Like today's atmosphere, they were just about to kiss, but she was asked to leave by Varus. She's really too pitiful. She just wants to kiss and hug him. Why does Varus seem not to feel anything? Having never been in love, she sullenly and pathetically starts crying. At this moment, she notices the new shoes on her feet. It is said that if lovers give each other shoes, the recipient will run away. Could it be that his giving her this gift is also hinting that they're incompatible and she should be smart enough to leave on her own? The next morning, Zarth hurriedly bursts into the study to inform Varus that last night he discovered a man named Thomas from the Kimmerlin city in the southwest. What's the important is that his fiancée Seline has disappeared, so he's searching everywhere and came here. And Thomas claims that although he and Seline haven't officially held a wedding, they already have a marriage engagement. Zarth reluctantly explains the whole situation, but Varus only casually asks, "The ground has started thawing recently, hasn't it?" Guessing his grace might want to bury that man, Zarth thinks his grace is indeed as terrifying as always, but he doesn't dare say it out loud. Yes, it's been spring for a month now. Varus stands up and asks where that man is now. He's blinded by love and dares to come here. It seems I need to meet this fool. Varus speaks calmly as if nothing happened, but Zarth, who knows him well, can clearly sense he's already furious. Everyone in the village is saying Seline got married, but Thomas, as her fiancé, only finds out now, so he frantically asks the villagers where Seline married off to. A villager thinks for a moment and replies, "I heard she married into a very wealthy family in the far north." Well, she is quite the beauty, and doesn't belong rotting away in this place. She suits the life of fine clothes, exotic flowers, and elegant tea parties better than anyone, but Thomas doesn't think so. If Seline isn't living happily, he doesn't care who she married. Thomas plans to find her and see her once more, though he doesn't know her exact location. However, with her impressive beauty, he believes he'll find her quickly. After that, he travels over mountains and rivers, finally arriving in the cold north. But before he can catch his breath, he's taken away by a group of soldiers. Then he's tied up and locked in a prison cell. "Who are you people? What do you want to do to me?" Varus coldly looks at him, then announces, "Begin." Hearing his command, the soldiers restrain Thomas, then take out a bottle of potion and force it down his throat. After drinking the liquid, Thomas falls into a hypnotic state. Varus begins his interrogation. "That woman called Seline from the Kimmerlin city in the southwest. Have you two already confirmed your feelings for each other?" Thomas mumbles in a daze. "Seline, my beautiful Seline, we love each other, we promise to be together forever." Hearing his words, Varus's face darkens terrifyingly. Zarth senses big trouble ahead, because the potion Thomas just drank will make him temporarily lose consciousness and be forced to tell the truth, and Thomas's mental strength doesn't seem like someone who could overcome the potion, so what he just said is very likely all true. Zarth is afraid his grace won't be able to resist killing Thomas, so he can only follow behind him to prevent him from doing anything extreme, but Varus doesn't show the fury he expected, instead revealing a confident smile. "Zarth, release him in the inner keep and adjust his escape route." make him pass through the terrace next to the castle corridor. At the same time, Seline happens to be taking a walk on the terrace. Because rare butterflies have appeared, her attention is completely drawn to them. Anna explains that the castle has no flowers, so the butterflies instinctively fly toward the outside walls. Seline loves this charming scene, thinking that since she was born, she's always been thrown into new situations and forced to survive, having no choice in her own life. She feels lucky for the butterflies and cheers them on in her heart. When she turns around, she discovers Varus in the distance. This unexpected eye contact makes Varus particularly awkward, hesitating whether he should go over. After all, he just accidentally watched his wife for 2 hours. She's truly fascinating. Just watching the back of her head makes time fly by. No doubt others see her the same way. If she hadn't been sold by her father, she should be with someone she likes right now. If she had grown up among nobles, maybe she'd already be married by now, even with lovely children. Thinking that none of this has anything to do with him, Varus burns with rage. He's really angry, wants to crush everything before his eyes, even starts planning how to kill her so-called lover without leaving her with any longing. Moreover, if he discovers Seline daring to show even a hint of missing that man, he'll grind her lover's bones to powder and feed them to wild beasts. Seline happily comes before him, lifting her skirt to show the shoes he gave her. Varus, did a good look on me? Hearing her call Varus, who was fierce just a second ago, immediately deflates like a shy little dog. Honestly, though he doesn't understand fashion at all, he clearly knows the dress and those leather shoes don't match at all, but he doesn't want to dampen her spirits. They suit you perfectly. Are they comfortable? They're very comfortable to walk in, and very beautiful too. But these words don't make Varus happy. Instead, his expression becomes increasingly gloomy because he thinks again of her possibly escaping. So, can you go out with me today? Seline gathers courage to invite him on a date. Varus is shocked because this is completely different from what he expected, but he doesn't refuse, instead shyly asking her where she wants to play. Anywhere is okay, no matter where we go, as long as we're together, I'll be very happy. Varus doesn't know how to respond to her either. After thinking, he still tells her, starting today, I'm going to seal off the inner keep. The moment she hears this, Seline breaks out in a cold sweat, hesitating as she tries to ask what she should do, only to be told she needs to stay in the inner keep for now. Seline looks at him pitifully, hoping he'll relent. Varus struggles to resist her pleading attack. Because I have matters to attend to, so I need to temporarily seal it off. It won't exceed a week at most. After that, perhaps we could go for a ride together. Seline almost thinks he's about to imprison her. Fortunately, that's not the case. She happily accepts his invitation, but Varus reveals a sinister smile. Even if Seline will resent me as expected after today, it doesn't matter, as long as she belongs to me alone. Even if she feels sad, it's fine. After all, she absolutely cannot have any feelings for other guys, especially since that guy is still alive. It's even more unacceptable. He must see that man die with his own eyes. Then he can go out and enjoy the breeze with Seline. She seems to quite like the stars. Maybe later they can go to the Luvelleberg forest. The night sky there is clean and beautiful. She would definitely love it. At this moment, his thoughts are interrupted by the sound of a door opening. Thomas walks out of the main gate, dirty all over. Seeing an outsider enter, Seline feels curious, because as far as she knows, only she and Varus, as well as Darth and Anna, can enter and exit the inner keep. She can't help but wonder if he's a servant, but immediately she turns her attention to Varus, coquettishly saying to him, "But what if I don't know how to ride a horse?" Varus didn't expect her not to know how to ride. Seline wonders, is it strange not to know how to ride a horse? Wait, don't tell her all the women here know how to ride horses, but she has never ridden a horse before. At this moment, Thomas runs to Seline and kneels down, angrily questioning her. "I came here with great difficulty just to see you. You won't even look at me once?" Seline is startled by him, but she has never seen him before. Her mind goes blank, trying to recall if there was such a person in the original story. Unable to remember, she finally gives up and directly slips behind Varus. This scene gives Thomas a huge shock. "Though you're now a married woman, since I've come all this way to find you, shouldn't you at least chat with me for a bit?" Seeing Celine's attitude change so quickly, Thomas thinks she's being too much. He angrily shouts Celine's name. Seline tightly hugs Varus's arm and quietly asks who that man is. He says he's your lover from your hometown who promised a future with you. "What? A lover who promised me a future?" Looking at her nervous appearance, Varus unconsciously grins. When Seline suddenly ran behind him, he thought she was going to assassinate him for her lover's sake, but she avoided that man and hid behind him instead. This means she chose him, which makes him secretly delighted. He immediately orders the guards to take Thomas away. After Thomas is taken away, Seline plops down on the ground. Then she realizes that Varus sealing off the inner keep might have been to test her. The more she thinks about it, the more wrong she feels, looking at Varus with teary eyes. Seeing her cry, Varus panics and hurriedly asks, "What's wrong? Are you going to give me to that man?" "I'm not. You're lying." Varus clenches his fist. He knows he is lying. His intention in letting them meet was to kill that man in front of her, and then he would have sufficient reason to lock her up, but he doesn't dare tell her this. He avoids her gaze and stammers, "Well, the truth is, he begged me to see your face one last time." As soon as Varus finishes speaking, he sees Seline looking at him angrily. "Would you do this for anyone who says they want to see me? Why don't you just paint a big portrait of me and post it at the gates? Wouldn't that be more convenient?" Feeling guilty, Varus is rendered speechless by her retort and weakly says, "Because he said he was your lover." Seline gets even angrier. "And then you believed what he said and let him meet me in the inner keep? Let me see a man of unknown origin?" Varus originally didn't want to tell her the truth, but she keeps crying, and in the end he can't bear to keep it from her. "I used a truth potion on him. After drinking it, he absolutely cannot lie. All things considered, his words are credible." Seline tightly grabs her skirt. She feels really sad. Even if that man is Seline's so-called lover, Varus was so magnanimous in letting her meet her lover. Doesn't he care about her at all? Varus looks at her frustratedly and anxiously. Why won't she stop? If she keeps crying, it'll take a toll on her body. Ever since making her cry, he has been very depressed. Returning to his study, he keeps pouring himself wine. Zarth thinks his Grace is truly a fool among fools, not even knowing he likes her Grace. Clearly, every time he sees her Grace cry sadly, he cares extremely much, but he just keeps avoiding and not comforting her. Besides, what man in the world would let a woman he likes meet her past lover? Now he keeps pacing around the room all day. What's the point of that? Zarth can't understand why his Grace always thinks of things in violent and negative directions. Forget it, it's better for him as the brain trust to step up. He approaches Varus and whispers in his ear, "Your Grace, I heard her Grace hasn't been eating properly." Seeing his voice is very low, Varus blushes and pricks up his ears to listen carefully. Knowing his strategy is working, Zarth continues, "Would you like to bring some soup to her bedroom?" Varus immediately gets angry like a provoked cat. "What? Do you think I'm a servant?" But though he says words of refusal, in the end he still brings soup to Seline's room. Hearing the continuous crying sounds from inside the room, he starts overthinking again. Is she crying for her past lover? She might as well scold me instead. But if she's disappointed in me? Thinking of this, he knocks on the door and walks in. "You should eat something." Seline gets angry just seeing him and huffily covers herself with the blanket, sulking. "What are you here for?" Varus places the tray in his hand on the bedside table while replying, "I heard you haven't left your room." Seline continues muttering quietly, "What does that have to do with you? The inner keep is shut down anyway." Hearing her words, he frowns. Previously, although she wasn't afraid of him, she still gave him the feeling of being timid and cowering, but now she completely lacks that feeling, instead saying what she wants to say without hesitation. He thinks the current her is even more adorable. Seeing him not comfort her but secretly smile instead, Seline angrily stares at him. She huffily turns her face away, feeling more indignant. If he has something to say, he should just say it. Why does he have to look like that? Since he wants to give me to other people, why did he give me jewelry and shoes? Why did he offer me his arm and hold me when I tripped? What exactly is he trying to do? He is so annoying. Am I missing something because I've never had a boyfriend? I thought those were clear signals. She gets so angry her whole face starts contorting. Varus coughs slightly, pretending not to feel her anger. "I'll open the gates again. Let's go horseback riding as we promised." Hearing Seline ask when they'll go, he thinks for a moment and replies, "Now." Seline is speechless, but she still resignedly puts on riding attire, feeling extremely gloomy. "I cried so hard, and he didn't even ask if I was okay, though I didn't expect him to comfort me. Would it be so hard to wipe my tears?" She's so angry that she's about to burst into flames, but in Varus's eyes, she's in a completely different state. She looks good even in that outfit. He doesn't notice her anger at all. Zarth on the side could only shake his head in silent exasperation, sighing that his Grace's path to romantic fulfillment still stretched long ahead. But Varus doesn't realize his problem at all and falls into his own overthinking again. Kimmerlin is a small village with no roads for carriages. Though Seline says she can't ride horses, how is that possible? In such a small village, besides archery, you can only go hunting on horseback, and as long as she bears children that belong to us, I can overlook her past. Fortunately, I brought her here without knowing about her past. Later, he leads a white horse while fantasizing about his future with Seline. He calls out to Seline, "Here, this white horse is for you." Seeing the horse's back already loaded with lots of luggage, Seline feels panicked. "If I get on, won't the horse find it too heavy?" Varus comforts her not to worry. Even with 5 more people, it would be no problem. Varus completely doesn't understand why she would say that, since from his perspective she's lighter than pastry. Seline originally wanted to reluctantly accept, but when she looks up at that white horse, she chickens out because it's completely much larger than she imagined. Moreover, she really doesn't know how to ride a horse. She tightly grabs Varus's clothes corner and reiterates that she doesn't know how to ride. Varus finds it funny, still thinking she's joking. "No, I really don't know how to ride a horse." She looks at Varus pitifully. Realizing she really doesn't know how to ride, Varus suggests, "If that's the case, then let's learn to ride today and go out another day, or we can ride the same horse together." Hearing this, she immediately freezes. Then she blushes and her mind starts spinning. What does he mean? Ride with him? So he'll be holding me? This could easily cause misunderstandings. Could this be the push-pull people talk about? But this is too obvious. In the end, she replies with false bravado, since everything's prepared, let's go. She nervously and fearfully doesn't dare get on the horse. Varus lifts her up, and seeing her body lean forward, he instructs her to grip the reins tightly. Then he also gets on the horse, hugging her tightly. He shyly turns his face away and signals to Seline that they're about to depart. The horse walks steadily on the road, which makes Seline feel very secure, probably because Varus is the strongest male lead in the novel story. The previously angry her now has her heart pounding under the influence of this ambiguous atmosphere. Varus behind her is also very nervous. He completely didn't expect them to be so close. The sweet fragrance from her body teases him all the way, and they're both wearing riding attire, so there's only thin fabric between them. They're pressed so close together that Varus is driven crazy. On the other side, Anna sees Zarth preparing a carriage and curiously asks what he's doing. Hearing that his grace asked him to send a carriage over, Anna thinks for a moment and asks when he plans to go. Zarth says he plans to go in the evening. She immediately coldly mocks him for having no sense and advises him to go tomorrow at dawn. Arriving at daybreak would be fine. Before leaving, she doesn't forget to complain that there's a reason Zarth is single. Zarth is completely confused by what she said. So, should he follow his grace's orders or Anna's? If he doesn't listen to Anna, she'll probably assassinate him in the middle of the night, but his grace would just dock his pay. Well, he better listen to Anna. In the evening, Seline and Varus sit together around a campfire to keep warm. It's too cold, their bodies pressed close together. Varus can't bear to let her suffer from the cold and wraps her in his cloak for warmth, blaming Zarth for being incompetent. But Seline thinks this is quite romantic. Hearing her say this, Varus immediately blushes to his ears. It seems Zarth is somewhat useful after all. Then he asks Seline if she wants to drink some wine, as it would make her feel warmer. Seline readily agrees. Before transmigrating, she always had a good alcohol tolerance, so drinking a little now should be completely fine. Varus takes out a bottle of wine. Seline smiles awkwardly because she doesn't really like wine since it's a bit astringent. Hearing this, Varus's gaze instantly turns sharp. If you don't like wine, how about whiskey? Seline immediately happily agrees. This is her first time drinking whiskey. She takes a glass and gulps it down. Varus looks at her suspiciously. According to investigation, Seline in her hometown loved drinking wine, and she especially liked the Levant region wine he just took out. Because she has low alcohol tolerance, and that wine has the lowest alcohol content, she loved drinking it. After Seline finishes one glass, a red flush appears on her face. It tastes so good. Varus then mentions there are many small animals around here, asking if she wants to prepare bow and arrows so she can hunt. By the way, do you like hunting? His gaze stares intently at Seline. Seline also becomes nervous all at once, because she drank 3 whole glasses of whiskey. Drunkenness begins to hit her. She groggily thinks Varus wants to kiss her. She originally didn't want to kiss after drinking, but now there's no choice. Suddenly, she excitedly stands up. Hunting? I haven't tried it yet. After saying this, she dizzily falls into Varus's arms and starts sleeping. Varus gently picks her up and begins to reflect. Since they got married, Seline has obviously become a different person, so she should be a witch, and several times he seemed to be bewitched by her. But if she's a witch, then where is the real Seline? Varus holds her sitting by the bedside, staring at her intently. Seline keeps saying she's cold, her body also pressed tightly against him, causing his heart to pound and his face to turn red like a ripe apple. He keeps telling himself this woman is a witch, but he still can't help being attracted to her. Just like this, he foolishly holds Seline through the night. After thinking all night, he finally understands that it doesn't matter even if Seline is a witch. A witch with unparalleled beauty can devour an entire empire, such as his sister. So even if she devours him, it's nothing significant. He looks at Seline wriggling in his arms. Can't help but be drawn to her. At this moment, the sound of a carriage approaching comes from outside the window. He knows it's Zarth. Seline, who was placed on the bed, finally wakes up, only to find she's alone in the room. Did I wake up too late? Where did Varus go? He wouldn't just abandon me and run away. She walks out of the room and hears a conversation. Zarth, investigate the witches and sorcerers who were in the north around the time of my wedding. Your Grace, why do you suddenly want to do this? I suspect Seline was swapped on our wedding day. I need to find the real Seline. Seline completely panics after listening to their conversation. Now she's really doomed. Varus continues speculating. It's more likely only her soul was switched. If we find the witches or sorcerers who were in the north at that time, we should be able to find the real Seline. Zarth suddenly notices Seline at the doorway and greets her. Your Grace, you're here. Seline pretends she just happened to pass by and walks in. Varus introduces Zarth to her. Seline tries to stay calm and replies, nice to meet you. Please take care of me from now on. As expected, their suspicions are confirmed, because Zarth and Seline have already met. Even from the beginning, it was Zarth who brought her over, and before the wedding they even chatted several times in the inner keep, but the current Seline treats him as if meeting for the first time. On the return journey, the atmosphere in the carriage becomes inexplicably tense. Seline now has no idea what to do. No matter how she thinks about it, she feels doomed. Judging from Zarth's reaction just now, it clearly indicated they already knew each other. So, is falsely claiming to be her grace a felony or a death sentence? Honestly, even if they say I'm a spy who infiltrated with huge conspiracy, I have nothing to say. Will they torture me to make me confess who's behind this? I won't be beheaded in the end, will I? Could it be that when Varys brought my past lover over, it was because he already suspected my identity before that? Why am I so pitiful? I just wanted to live a peaceful married life. Is that so difficult? No, even if I'm in such sticky situation, I have to pull myself together to deal with it. Now I need to think carefully about what to do. From the moment Seline got in the carriage, Varys keeps staring at her. Her expressions alternating between happiness and frustration are all caught by his eyes. He thought witches would all be poised and graceful, but apparently not all of them. Anyway, she's really quite adorable, but they don't notice the carriage, crowded with crows. At this moment, a magical crow flies away from the carriage roof, finally landing at a hidden cabin. Vincent receives the crow and roughly understands the situation. At this time, a woman in the shadows suddenly speaks. Is everything going smoothly? I hope that woman can properly fulfill her duties. But Vincent only coldly replies, you need to know, you can't do anything now. Hearing this, the woman's emotions become extremely agitated. Then another man appears behind her to comfort her. Rowan, I know it's tough, but hang in there. Vincent and I will handle everything. Meanwhile, Varys thinks it over and decides it's better to pretend he doesn't know Seline has been exposed, because he's afraid she wants to escape after she discovers herself exposed. Regarding the current soul, he completely doesn't understand her related information. If this soul suddenly leaves the body and returns to her original body, then he'll completely lose track of her. Initially, he wanted to induce her to escape, then use this as an excuse to imprison her. Now it seems this plan won't work, though he doesn't know what her purpose is in approaching him before finding a way to bind her soul. He can't let her have thoughts of escaping. So from now on, he needs to appropriately compromise to satisfy her wishes. Though the original Seline was also a beautiful woman in her own right, but it has to be the current Seline. Varys has obsessively fixated on her. He wants to think of every way to lock this soul by his side. Seline is still racking her brains thinking about how to respond. Suddenly she thinks of an idea. Why doesn't she directly tell him she has amnesia? Though she doesn't know when Varys started suspecting her. To be safe, she decides to pretend the amnesia from the first night she came to this world. Suddenly, she looks toward the window and finds this doesn't seem to be the way home. Varys explains that because the path horses take is different from carriages, it might be a bit roundabout but won't take too long. To make the atmosphere more pleasant, Seline tentatively asks if he's hungry. Seeing him sit there with a serious expression, not responding, she starts nervously explaining that she just thought he might be hungry since he didn't eat breakfast this morning. Unexpectedly, the next second he actually hands her a basket of food. There's still some distance to the commercial street. If you're hungry first, eat this. Seline is amused by him. I'm not hungry. I was just worried you might be hungry. Varys also didn't expect she was worried about him. He shyly avoids her gaze and stammers that he's not hungry. Later, the carriage arrives at the bustling marketplace. Seline couldn't be more excited. Looking out the window, she doesn't want to look away for even a moment. Her excitement is seen by Varys, who notices she acts like someone seeing human urban life for the first time. He thinks if she's a witch living in the countryside, everything would make sense. Seline feels very pressured being stared at by him, because his gaze seems to be saying she's fake, so she quickly changes the subject. My back is getting sore from sitting so long. Won't the horses have sore backs from all this running? Right after saying this, Seline wants to go crazy. What nonsense am I spouting? This makes the atmosphere even more awkward. Fortunately, Zarth breaks the deadlock at this moment. Your Grace, we've arrived at the place you mentioned. Seline breathes a sigh of relief. Varys gets out of the carriage. She anxiously wonders where he's going, thinking he wouldn't be doing business here and leaving her to go home alone. But the next second, Varys extends his hand to her. Seline stares at him blankly for a while, then gets out of the carriage with his assistance. It turns out he wants to take her to a restaurant for a meal. Seeing her hand being released, she gathers courage and reaches out, tightly holding his hand. Varys realizes her action and shyly doesn't dare look at her. Right now they're like lovers on a date, looking at the table full of food. Seline is overjoyed and crazily devours the delicious food. Noticing that Varys keeps staring at her, she remembers that in the cabin he also stayed with her all night, and now he's treating her to such delicious food. Thinking about how she'll have to deceive him later, she feels a pang of guilt. But if she doesn't do this, whether she can even survive later is questionable, so she'd better say she has amnesia. I'm curious about something. What's our relationship right now? Her question completely confuses Varys. You come to my room at night and give me gifts, so I thought about it and we seem to be husband and wife, right? Varys wordlessly picks up his coffee and drinks. Seline has no choice but to use her ultimate move, but why don't we spend the night together? Hearing her such bold words, Varys immediately spits out the tea in his mouth. I need you to explain what you mean by that. If I startled you, I'm sorry, because I seem to lose my memory. Varys isn't very surprised by her words. After all, if her witch identity is discovered, she wouldn't be able to achieve her purpose. So obviously amnesia should be an excuse she made up. He doesn't intend to expose her, but instead follows her words to say, we are indeed husband and wife. When did you start having amnesia? I don't don't really remember the specific date. It was probably that night when you helped me close the curtains so I could sleep. The next day after you went out, you came back and collapsed on the bed bleeding. So you can't remember anything from before that? Seline nods frantically. Varys continues following her story. That day was when we held our wedding ceremony. You seem curious about why we haven't spent the night together. We had an arranged marriage. Because you felt unfamiliar with me. For your sake, I decided to start our married life on the 10th day after the wedding ended. Of course, you probably don't remember what I'm telling you, but tomorrow is the 10th day. He really wants to know what kind of reaction she'll give to his words. Then he sees Seline staring with shocked, wide eyes. Realizing she seems to have dug herself an even bigger pit, she really wants to go crazy. What's worse is that she knows he's lying but can't refute it. She thought she had finally gotten through the life and death crisis, but she didn't expect an even bigger challenge awaiting her now. She's truly on the verge of tears. Varys keeps secretly observing her, thinking she's really a careless witch, occupying the body of a married woman. Didn't she think about this aspect? But looking at her current distressed expression, it seems what just happened hit her hard. But so what? He absolutely won't let her go. Sooner or later, she will be his. The next evening, before starting their married life, Seline thinks of a good solution, that is to get herself drunk. Though this method sounds rather terrible, she really can't think of any other way to delay things. The problem is, where can she get alcohol? She doesn't know where the castle's wine cellar and kitchen are. With no other choice, she plans to go to the market to buy wine and bring it back. She puts on her cloak and quietly leaves the room alone. At the same time, Varys reveals a sinister smile. He finally got what he wanted. This is something he managed to get from the black market with great difficulty. A soul circle that combines souls to bodies. It was originally used for treatment, but because the side effects are too severe, now only madmen would use such a thing. As for the fatal side effects, it's only a problem if the user dies before the circle's master, but he'll make sure nothing happens to her. Then he can't wait to find Seline, but he finds her room is unusually quiet. He simply thinks she's asleep, so he knocks on the door, but there's no response at all. At this time, Anna pushes a food cart over. Realizing Seline has escaped, he coldly orders Anna to immediately seal off the north. At this moment, Seline is frantically searching for stores selling alcohol on the street, but accidentally bumps into a man. Just as she's about to apologize, he suddenly grabs her hand. She thinks he's about to get angry, but he actually explains he mistook her for someone else with smile, then turns and leaves. Seline thinks this person is really strange. Meanwhile, the castle's army is frantically searching everywhere on the streets. Varys shows a gloomy expression. Search every corner. It's almost dawn now, and they still haven't found any trace of Seline. It seems the tracking net laid this morning needs to be reorganized. He irritably thinks about Celine's reason for escaping. Did she run away because she hates sleeping together? She could have just told me. I've already waited 10 days. Would I really mind waiting a bit longer? She really makes me so angry. If I catch her, I definitely won't let her off easily. At this moment, clear footsteps come from the opposite street. Varys stares intently at that yellow figure, completely certain that person is Seline. He quickly rushes over and grabs her hand. He prays her soul is still in this body, but with just one look, he confirms this is her. Seline is very surprised by his anxious look. What happened? Why do you look so terrible? Seeing he doesn't answer, she waves her hand in front of him, trying to bring back his thoughts. Varys directly grabs her hand and presses it to his face. He had originally decided that if he met her again, he would definitely lock her in a room, but seeing her, he gives up again. Zarth sees them embracing, and quietly tells the others to disperse. To be honest, he once especially hoped her grace would firmly capture his grace's heart, so she could help suppress his grace's murderous intent. Though he got his wish now, her identity happens to be a witch. What are you doing here? Seline didn't expect him to ask this question. She feels embarrassed and wants to avoid his question, but has no choice but to answer with a red face. Because I thought we might need to drink some wine tonight, so I came out to buy wine. Hearing she came out just to buy wine, Varys immediately cracks up. He's so annoyed, and because she drank that day, he didn't sleep all night. He grumbles unhappily. It seems you want to continue being drunk and disorderly? What? Did I get drunk? But don't worry, you didn't do anything too out of line, so it's fine. Seline feels like she has no face to meet him anymore. She originally planned to get him drunk to postpone sleeping together, but it seems her plan has also fallen through. Varys pauses for a few seconds, suddenly kneels on one knee, and asks her to give him her foot. She's surprised he actually wants her to put her foot on his knee. She blushes, feeling embarrassed, but he crouches there motionless, completely acting like he won't get up until she agrees. Seeing this, Seline has no choice but to close her eyes tightly, and gather courage to lift her foot over. Varys excitedly grabs her foot, and immediately fastens that mysterious anklet around it. His anxious heart finally settles. This way, even if she escapes, he can find her. Even if she cries and begs him for mercy later, he won't remove it for her, because he wants to firmly lock her by his side. Receiving the gift, Seline is particularly happy, and shows a brilliant smile. But suddenly she thinks about how he gave her shoes before, and now an anklet. Could he have a foot fetish? But she doesn't dwell on this problem, because right now she urgently wants to know if her drinking behavior is really that bad. Recalling how the drunker was so clingy and cute, Varys blushes and turns his head away. Anyway, it's the first time in my life I've seen such drinking behavior. Then he seriously and sternly warns her that when he's not by her side, she'd better not drink alcohol. But Seline finds a loophole, so that means when you're by my side, I can drink, right? Varys is choked by her words. Then he chuckles. When I'm by your side, of course you can. This makes Seline extremely happy, and she excitedly asks if he wants to drink today. Varys has no choice but to throw her into the room when they get home. To prevent her from escaping again, he calls Anna to guard outside the door, and coldly and ruthlessly strides away. So, Seline's worries from the past few days are resolved just like that, though she tried every way to delay before. Thinking about his ruthless departing figure, she still can't help feeling sad. How could he just leave without any hesitation? It's not like I'm unattractive, and objectively speaking, this body is clearly a great beauty. Could it be that I look sickly and lack vitality? Or does he prefer lively, petite young ladies? It's so annoying. Should I give it a try? Maybe the effect would be good, and we could even have a sweet kiss. She sits in front of the mirror thinking with shame. On the other side, Varys finally finishes processing the accumulated documents. Last night Zarth had him completely scheduled. Either something here wasn't handled or work there wasn't done. Zarth has really gotten gutsy these days, but what is Seline doing now? His gaze looks toward the room across from his. Seeing Anna arranging lunch, he thinks she should be about to eat. If he's lucky, he might even hear her laughter. Thinking about it, he feels this kind of life isn't bad either. Meanwhile, Seline just finished eating. Anna says she wants to introduce someone to her. This is Matilda from the Ogu family, who has served the Belias family for generations. Hello, Your Grace, I'm honored to meet you. This lady is well versed in etiquette and mature-minded, so I was wondering if we should let her be your lady-in-waiting. Medalai bubbles with joy seeing Seline. She was originally the predetermined lady-in-waiting to Her Grace, but due to a serious illness a few months ago, she couldn't come here on time, so now that she's recovered, she wonders if she can continue as a lady-in-waiting. Seline didn't expect there was such a thing, but she carefully looks at Medalai's appearance. She's exactly the cute type she just imagined. This is really too much of a coincidence. Seeing Seline accept Medalai as her lady-in-waiting, Anna immediately breathes a sigh of relief. Since Her Grace came to this household, she has never made any demands. Even simple meals and plain clothes, she has never shown the slightest dissatisfaction. At most, she just wants to go out, but even when going out, she's only spent a few coins from her pin money. Anna can tell at first glance that Her Grace isn't hiding her true thoughts and isn't scheming anything, but her being so docile really puts Anna in a difficult position, because the Empress will likely arrive by tomorrow at the latest. Although His Grace only reported his marriage to the Emperor through written documents, the Empress, who stays by the Emperor's side, couldn't possibly be unaware of this matter. A woman who was a bastard became a noble lady, and even became her young brother's wife. As the most noble woman in the Empire, the Empress couldn't possibly have no opinion about Her Grace. As the Empress's best friend, Anna knows her too well. She's not someone who would say nice things out of consideration for others' feelings. If the innocent Her Grace gets hurt by her harsh words, that would be terrible. Anna is really worried about Her Grace's meeting with the Empress tomorrow. Matilda really likes Seline. Seeing her finish eating, she hurriedly pours tea for her. Your Grace, is it to your liking? Her bright, youthful smile makes Seline stare in fascination. She sadly thinks that Mathilde is all radiant and glowing. She looks perfect for Varys. At this moment, Varys suddenly walks in, his naturally powerful aura startling Mathilde greatly. She stands to the side, not daring to move. Seline looks over at her, and notices her hand shaking terribly as she pours the tea. With his hopelessly idealized view of Varys, Seline thinks she completely understands why she's so nervous. After all, with such a handsome man like Varys here, she thinks it would be strange if Mathilde wasn't nervous. Thinking that she's very likely not Varys's type, Seline dejectedly lowers her head. Noticing her low mood, Varys stares at her intently, then waves his hand, signaling Mathilde to withdraw. Getting permission, Mathilde bows and frantically flees from the room, finally collapsing on the ground. His Grace is truly terrifying. I'm about to cry. Because I was so nervous, my hand kept shaking while pouring tea just now, but I was also afraid of making a mistake and being punished, so I shook even more. In contrast, Her Grace isn't afraid at all. She remains as elegant and composed as always in front of His Grace. She's truly amazing. Mathilde has now completely become Seline's fan. Ever since Varys entered, Seline has been looking dejected. Her expression changes several times in a short period. Varys thinks she's really adorable, but seeing her constantly lost in her own thoughts, he pretends to cough to get her attention. Would you like to have dinner together tonight? Seline shows a bright smile and happily agrees. This hits him right in the heart. He fantasizes that if he takes the opportunity to invite her for a walk in Champagne, she probably wouldn't refuse either. Seeing he doesn't say anything more, Seline glares at him angrily. Suddenly she realizes that her earlier gloominess was due to jealousy. The reason she envied Mathilde was because she wanted to monopolize Varus. Since they're already married, she decides to take the initiative and create more opportunities to spend time with him. Varus, can you show me around the outer keep? She looks at him anxiously, worried he might refuse, but it turns out she worried for nothing. Varus happily agrees to her invitation, then he gently extends his arm for her to take. Soon they arrive at the outer keep. Noticing the castle's color is too dark, Varus worries whether Seline might not like it. However, Seline is actually very curious, pointing at a building and asking what it's used for. He explains to her that it's only used occasionally when guests come or when hosting banquets, so it's empty now. Hearing this, Seline quietly pulls him toward that building, feeling her secretly tugging at him. All he can think about is how light she is, like a rabbit with no strength at all, but being led by her like this, he feels satisfied and pleased. However, Celine's attention is entirely focused on that building being completely empty. In that case, she could have a sweet kiss with Varus. Just thinking about it makes her excited, so she quickly leads him inside the building. Little does she know that a mysterious woman has been secretly following them. Afterward, they enter the interior of the building. The excessive quietness inside makes Seline feel very panicked. She clings tightly to Varus, trying to ease her fear. At this moment, a strange sound suddenly comes from the air. She fearfully asks if he heard any strange sounds just now. Varus shows no surprise, calmly telling her, that's Nephthis's voice. And Nephthys is a female ghost who lives on the 4th floor. Hearing it's a female ghost, Seline cries out in fear, why didn't you tell me earlier? Varus is confused by her question, not understanding why she's reacting so strongly. Then he explains that he didn't know there were people in the world who were afraid of ghosts. At this moment, Seline sees the floating ghost behind Varus. She's about to be scared to death. Terrified, she urges Varus to leave quickly, and hurriedly runs away in a panic, while Varus leisurely follows behind. Only then does Seline remember the setting of this world, that dragons and magic truly exist in this world, so it's not strange for ghosts to exist either. But she's been afraid of ghosts since childhood, especially ghosts that actually exist. She sobs and sheds tears pathetically. She keeps complaining that Varus is really cold. She already said she was afraid of ghosts, but he still acted so nonchalant. Even if he's heartless toward her, he can't be like this. She's sad and afraid now. Seline, finally out of the castle, is still very angry, while Varus looks toward the suddenly approaching carriage, thinking his subordinates went on an external patrol. However, the carriage isn't on patrol at all. Then, Empress Cinia steps down from the carriage. Long time no see, my little brother. Seeing the visitor is actually his witch sister, Varus immediately becomes alert. Hearing her mention his newly wedded wife, he quickly protects Seline behind him. Seeing his protective gesture, Cinia shows an amused smile. After sending Seline back to her room, Varus comes alone to see the Empress, asking why she came here, but Cinia calmly responds that she doesn't need a reason to visit her own family. Varus remains persistently asking why she came here, not believing she would come here for no reason. Cinia doesn't answer his question, only mentioning that she heard on her way here that he was looking for witches. He immediately denies this isn't the case. Cinia doesn't mind his attitude, just shrugs and says, it seems you and your wife have a good relationship. Hearing her mention Seline again, he immediately stops her from asking further, but we're family now. I need to get to know her. At least I need to know what she looks like so we won't grab each other's hair and fight later. Varus finds her excuse very annoying, then warns her that if she makes him angry, he might just burn down the imperial palace. Cinia sighs helplessly. Her brother is still the same. When angry, he doesn't care about anything, but fortunately, he seems to be doing well after getting married. Varus has always held great prejudice against witches. He believes witches are arrogant and cunning. They generally like to use ghosts as slaves, but Seline is afraid of ghosts, so he has another clue to discover her true identity. Generally speaking, if a witch takes over someone else's body, she would eliminate or imprison the original owner's soul, but Seline looks so fragile and innocent, she shouldn't use such cruel methods to deal with the real Seline's soul. It seems he needs to help her cover up properly. He absolutely cannot let the original owner of the body return. The next day, Seline wakes up and stretches comfortably in bed. She wonders if Varus is awake yet. If he is, they could have breakfast together. At this moment, she suddenly sees Varus standing by the window. She jumps like a startled rabbit and quickly dives under the covers. What should I do? I just woke up. My face must be swollen now, and I yawned so rudely. He didn't see that, did he? Varus didn't expect to startle her. He walks to the bedside to apologize, saying he didn't mean to. Seline pitifully pokes her head out, asking if he came so early because there's something wrong. He originally wanted to tell her that there's a very dangerous witch targeting her now, but thinking about how she was scared half to death just hearing about ghosts yesterday, if he tells her directly, she might faint from fear, because his sister is different from other witches. She's extremely dangerous, and might eliminate someone before they even have a chance to be on guard. Although he's already had the palace ask his sister to return, before that he needs an excuse to keep Seline by his side. He doesn't want his sister to meet Seline. Seline sees his grave expression and knows something bad has happened. She scares herself and suddenly throws off the covers. I'm sorry, I was a bit startled, but Varus explains, I didn't mean to scare you. There's something very serious I need to tell her. After we went there yesterday, Nephthys disappeared. She might have taken a liking to you. Hearing this news, Seline is completely stunned, muttering in disbelief, taken a liking to me? Yes, there's a servant responsible for monitoring Nephthys. He said she suddenly disappeared at dawn. She usually targets women who act alone, then takes over their bodies. Varus seriously fabricates lies, and Seline fearfully shrinks into the covers. Seeing her so frightened, he especially wants to tease her. Then he points toward the window. Look, is there something over there? Seline is so scared she frantically clings to him. Varus wickedly grins secretly, cunningly thinking that if he times this right, maybe they can stay together like this every day. Just as he's about to comfort her, Mathilde's voice comes from outside the door. Your Grace, I'm here to help you change clothes. Seline abandons Varus like seeing a savior and walks toward Mathilde. Varus stares at the oblivious Mathilde with murderous intent. If she weren't Zarth's sister, he would definitely replace her immediately. Mathilde is nervous to death. At this moment, she remembers her brother once warned her that if his Grace is in a bad mood, she must stay by her Grace's side. That's the only way to preserve her own life. So she tries to be calm while helping Seline change clothes. Seline also notices her nervousness, so she looks toward Varus behind her. I'd like to have breakfast with you. Could you wait for me? The previously furious Varus, hearing her words, immediately transforms into a silly, obedient puppy and agrees. Seline is amused by his cute expression. Through this experience, Mathilde completely understands the current situation. Her Grace's side is her safe zone. Noticing the lawn has grown thick little grass, Seline is extremely happy. Varus asks why she's smiling so happily. Look, there's a white butterfly there. It's just like me. It can only collect nectar when it finds flowers, but there are no flowers here, and no family to protect it. Although it sways when the wind blows, it's very brave, searching everywhere for flowers it can collect nectar from. Varus is very displeased with these words of hers, because what she's saying sounds like she's going to leave this place in the future. But he would never allow such a thing to happen, so he promises her, I will protect and take care of you. So don't think about leaving his side, whether it's flowers or nectar. As long as she needs it, he will find it all for her. His expression is so serious that Seline thinks he's angry. She mistakenly thinks her words sounded like complaining, so he said those things against his will to comfort her. She quickly changes the subject and invites him to go out together. Varus didn't expect her to actively invite him. He immediately blushes shyly. Although he also wants to go out with her, his sister must be waiting outside. If Seline gets caught by his crazy sister, there's no telling what she might do to Seline. Varus really wants to stop Seline from going out, but her desire to go out is written all over her face. Unable to bear disappointing her, he's forced to agree, asking if there's anywhere she wants to go. Seline pulls him along with a happy smile. I want to go to the market with you and eat snacks. It makes Varus start feeling anxious, afraid that once Seline learns about his terrible reputation, she won't smile at him anymore. But since they're going out, he still decides to explain the current situation to her. I should mention first, the woman we met in the outer keep yesterday is my sister. Seline is immediately shocked. What? The original story never mentioned such a person. Also, why didn't he introduce his sister to me yesterday? Wouldn't that make me seem very rude? This is terrible. Just as she's reeling from this news, Varus delivers another fatal blow. You said you lost your memory, haven't you recovered it yet? When it comes to memory loss, Seline feels very guilty and quickly brushes him off, saying she hasn't recovered her memory yet. Varus has no choice but to let it go. Then they walk toward the city gates. As soon as they open the main gate, as he expected, Senia is waiting outside for them. Seeing it's his sister, Seline thinks her chance to change first impressions is right in front of her. She's about to step forward and greet Senia, but Varus nervously blocks her path. Then they begin a silent tug of war. Seline cleverly pokes her head out from the side. Hello, I'm Seline, who held a wedding ceremony with Varus a few days ago. Sister, I just heard you came, and I was especially looking forward to meeting you. I hope we can get along well in the future. Senia chuckles. Varus, she says she wants to get along well with me. You seem like an unwelcome intruder in our relationship. Seeing Varus doesn't speak, she pretends to be innocently harmless and walks up to Seline. I'm also very happy to meet you. How about we have dinner together today? Varus can't stand it anymore and says angrily, no. Seline sees this and takes his hand. Sorry, sister. Varus and I already have plans today. Varus smugly shows a winner's smile, but Seline has no idea about his thoughts and happily continues, if you don't mind, how about tomorrow? The previously smug Varus is stunned. Senia is speechless at her brother, showing such obvious dislike toward her, but when it comes to his wife's words, even if he disagrees, he won't say anything. This double standard is too obvious. So, to annoy him, she readily agrees to Seline's invitation. The Belias fortress was built to block monsters from the northern snow mountains. As the frequency of monsters' attacks decreased, people gradually gathered near the fortress to survive. The Grand Duke allowed them to form settlements, offering aid and protection whenever they sought help. Due to the meticulous care Belias's rulers showed their residents, people from all over the empire who had difficult lives flocked here, but resources here were very limited. So to survive, they began mining the mountains. Dragon corpses buried underground caused the north to produce large amounts of mana stones. Thus, through mining development and processing, Belias accumulated accumulated vast wealth and power. 200 years later, 27-year-old Sania made her debut at the Empire's social debut and stood out. In an instant, she became the northern witch who seduced everyone in the imperial palace. Within less than a year of her appearance at the palace, she made Belias a duchy. Seline reads the history book and admires the witch sister even more. And from their earlier conversation, she can see that although their tone was cold, they had no hostility toward each other. So, that's what family is like? At this moment, her thoughts are interrupted. Mathilde brings a man to her. Your Grace, are you taking a walk? Do you remember what I mentioned before? This is the doctor who helped me when I was hovering between life and death. He's really amazing. The doctor bows to Seline. It's an honor to meet you, Your Grace. I look forward to serving you. Seline looks at his delicate features and feels strangely familiar, as if she's seen him somewhere before. Seeing this, the doctor asks if she has something to say to him. Seline awkwardly denies it, saying she must have mistaken him for someone else, but in a corner they don't notice. The doctor instantly changes expression, coldly staring at them. Soon it's time for Seline and Varys' promised trip to the market. She's full of anticipation and happiness for this date. Let's go to the fountain area and buy some snacks. Varys nods obediently. Seline is extremely happy. She didn't expect Varys to follow her so obediently like this. In this moment she feels so great, but the originally lively street becomes deserted because of Varys' arrival. People start fleeing, or look at him with fearful, panicked expressions. Varys knew it would be like this, but he's used to being treated this way. But for Seline, this should be her first time experiencing being viewed with hostility, so she should be very panicked. It's all his fault for letting her experience such things. However, Seline keeps holding his hand tightly, still showing him a sweet smile. What kind of snacks do you like? Do you like apples? From this moment, Varys decides apples are his favorite. Afterwards, Seline happily pulls him to buy apples. Varys really likes her energetic spirit. Little does he know that Seline is extremely annoyed inside, because everyone is looking at Varys with fearful eyes. But clearly he protected them when they were in danger, yet they're not grateful. Instead, they fear and even isolate him. This really makes her sad and angry. Varys takes an apple from the basket, but the apple in his hand is suddenly taken away by Seline. She takes out a handkerchief and gently wipes the apple for him. Although Varys is very confused, he still watches her and smiles foolishly. Seeing him smile, Seline also shows a brilliant smile. Then she hands him the wiped apple. I heard it tastes better this way. Varys stares blankly at the apple in his hand that she polished bright. Thinking this is probably what people call happiness, they simultaneously pick up their apples and put them in their mouths. Seline secretly observes him with her eyes, thinking it's time to try some romantic interaction. Varys happens to turn his head to look at her. Seline is a bit nervous, but still smiles and winks at him. Varys has never seen such behavior. The apple he swallowed almost chokes him. Seline hurriedly pats his back. Are you all right? Should I get you some water? But Varys is still wondering if what he just saw was an illusion. But she clearly was winking at him just now, and winking is a sign of courtship toward someone you like, isn't it? His subordinates would wink to get women to look at them more, but they usually ended up getting kicked. Realizing Seline is winking at him now, he blushes all over his face. He turns to look at her to confirm again, but Seline shyly avoids his gaze. Varys feels itchy inside, thinking he can't just let this go, so he grabs her hand and asks what she just did. Seeing him ask so directly, Seline is completely flustered, stammering, not knowing how to answer. Finally, she just makes up an excuse. I was winced. Although somewhat disappointed, Varys still accepts her answer. That evening, Seline is still feeling a bit dejected, thinking about the day's events. Suddenly she remembers what Varys said about ghosts targeting women who act alone and taking over their bodies. She gets so scared she hurriedly gets up and rushes to find Varys. Suddenly the door opens. Varys is also startled, seeing her with teary eyes. She starts crying loudly. He anxiously asks what happened, but Seline just keeps crying without answering. Finally, Varys has no choice but to helplessly carry her to the bed. But he's still confused, not understanding what happened. Out of fear, Seline jumps off the bed and clings tightly to him. Noticing she's only wearing a cloak, he asks if she's cold. Only then does Seline realize she's only wearing a cloak. She almost faints from embarrassment, afraid he might misunderstand that she had ulterior motives. Worried that she is cold, Varys gets up and walks to the fireplace, stirring the logs with the poker. Seline immediately feels relieved, but Varys becomes dejected again. She was just crying pitifully, and now suddenly she's smiling so happily. Honestly, he really wants to make her cry, so she'll cling to him. The next morning, Sarth knocks on his Grace's door as usual, but no one answers from inside, so he takes it upon himself to open the door, only to immediately spot golden hair by the bedside. He instantly has a bad feeling and breaks out in cold sweat, but he still gets kicked away. Varys comes to the door with a dark expression, asking what he wants. Your Grace, a witch matching the criteria has appeared in the north, but her specific whereabouts still need to be tracked. Varys takes the report Sarth brought. It records that half a month ago, several Several merchants near the southern city walls witnessed a witch. She was wrapped in bandages all over, with her face, hair, and fingers completely covered, and she disappeared after his wedding. According to Varus's knowledge, a few witches want to achieve immortality, so they discard their already rotting bodies and take on fresh and youth bodies. If her goal is Seline's body, she won't be in any rush to leave. Zarth, find that witch as soon as possible. Even if it's difficult, you must find her. I don't care if she's already dead or being hidden by someone, you must find her for me. Zarth reluctantly accepts the order. Looking at his Grace's expression, he can already sense his madness. The full moon is approaching soon. Zarth is really worried about his condition. He thinks maybe he should invite the Empress to the inner keep before then. Otherwise, with just them holding on, he doesn't dare imagine how things will develop. Although he and Anna can make it through, but her Grace, who falls over at the slightest breeze, he can't confidently guarantee her safety. Maybe he should send her Grace out of the city, but if his Grace discovers this, he'll definitely search for her like a madman, and the result might be even worse. But if her Grace stops the raging his Grace, it might work, so he might as well create as many opportunities as possible for them to stay together. Varus ruthlessly closes the door. He immediately stares at Seline sleeping on the bed. Fortunately, she's sleeping soundly and wasn't woken up. Looking down, he also sees her thigh exposed outside. He immediately covers his eyes with a red face, then angrily covers her with several layers of blankets. Only when he sees she can only show her head does he completely relax. Alright, he needs to go take a cold shower to calm down. As soon as Varus leaves, Seline wakes up. Actually, because she was afraid of ghosts, she never entered deep sleep. When the door opened, she was already awake, so afterward she was just pretending to sleep. When Varus was staring at her just now, she almost thought they were about to kiss, and almost cried out in excitement. But fortunately she didn't cry out, or she would have died of embarrassment. Seline rolls around on the bed shyly. After calming down, she looks toward the bathroom, then wraps herself in a small blanket and slowly moves to the bathroom door, because she's afraid a ghost might suddenly appear. If Nephthys really appears, she can quickly open the door the moment Nephthys appears. Meanwhile, Varus clearly senses that Seline is waiting behind that door, still pitifully saying she's afraid of Nephthys, afraid of ghosts. Thinking of these scenes, he wickedly chuckles. He opens the bathroom door. Sure enough, as he expected, Seline is at the bathroom door, sniffling pitifully. The moment she sees Varus, she feels extremely wronged, tears flowing freely. Seline's curled-up appearance is like a tiny bean, forming a strong contrast with his tall figure. Realizing their size difference, Varus blushes. Afterwards, Seline returns to her own room, but she's not happy at all. She's afraid of ghosts. During the day, she can go stay in the inner keep or outside, but at night she'll be alone. She has no way to live like this. Anna notices her low mood, and comes forward with concern, asking what she's worried about. Actually, I'm very afraid of ghosts. I heard Nephthys' story. Just thinking about being alone and her possibly targeting my body, I get very worried. Your Grace, I think you've misunderstood. Nephthys is a ghost with owner. She's very polite, respects life, and is a loyal retainer of the Archduke's family. Besides, ghosts all stay in their designated areas. The entire Balayas, including the inner keep and outer keep, is all Nephthys' territory. Without her permission, no other ghost will appear, so you have no need to be afraid. Hearing Anna's words, Seline is completely stunned. No wonder Varus was so shocked when he knew she was afraid of ghosts. Could it be that the ghosts here are different from the ghosts in her impression? Seeing she's still very afraid, Anna continues explaining. Your Grace, Nephthys is very kind, and a bit cautious. If she knew you were afraid of her, she wouldn't approach you. Seline finally understands that the ghosts here are like animals, a form of life and very obedient. In that case, they really don't seem so scary. Then when she was so afraid in front of Varus, how ridiculous she must have looked to him. He must be laughing at me hard. Varus is really too mean. He clearly knew everything but pretended not to know. He's simply unforgivable. Seline is very angry and wants to go find Varus to confront him right now. But it's getting dark. She doesn't have time, because she made plans with Senia to have dinner today. She must seize the opportunity to perform well in front of her sister. Anna, help me get dressed up. Senia waits early in the living room for Varus and Seline. Good evening. Did we keep you waiting long? Seeing them arrive, Senia stands up to welcome them. Seeing her smile, Seline thinks her smile looks exactly like Varus's, and has a good impression of Senia. Varus sees her being so enthusiastic toward his sister and feels very jealous, secretly staring at her, thinking about how he deceived her. Seline is very angry, and forcefully bumps his body with her elbow. Faced with her inexplicable angry stare, Varus is completely puzzled. If she didn't know Varus wouldn't hurt her, Seline wouldn't let him off so easily. However, the priority now is still to build a good relationship with his sister, so she takes the initiative to start conversation. Sister, I saw butterflies recently. I feel like the buds will start blooming soon. Summer in the north should be cool, right? I'm so looking forward to it. Listening to Seline chattering beside her, Senia finds it amazing. When she first appeared at the capital, she would also encounter various noblewomen trying to chat with her, but as soon as her gaze swept over them, they would quickly be scared into silence by her. Occasionally, there were persistent ones who lasted till the end, but without exception, they all had ulterior motives and were flattering. But Seline gives her a completely different feeling. She is innocent and clueless. Even her foolish brother is like a loyal dog obediently following behind his wife. She can't help but laugh. Yes, I'm also looking forward to this summer. Sania extends her hand toward Seline, which shocks Varys while also making him panic. But Seline cheerfully steps forward and takes her hand.